Hey guys, I'm in the kitchen with my friend Crystal Pullen, and we're gonna make cheddar broccoli soup. It's still kind of winter in North Carolina. So do you like cheddar broccoli soup?
I love cheddar broccoli soup, especially the cheddar part.
Me too. And Crystal looked at all this cheese and she said, are we using all of that
I got
cheese?
really excited.
And we're not, I promise we're not. But I wanted to show you how simple the ingredients were. We're gonna talk about this and then we're gonna go over to the cooktop. But we're gonna start with onions, and we're gonna saute the onions in some butter. And these are chopped, so they're not minced. I mean, they're a reasonable size because you don't mind seeing pieces of onion in soup, right? And then after we saute that, we're gonna add in the spices. Now, a lot of this is optional, but we're gonna put some garlic because garlic tastes like bacon. It makes everything better. We've got a little cayenne, which is optional. If you don't like the heat, you can leave it out. Smoked paprika. I have this thing for smoked paprika lately. So we got that. You like smoked paprika?
Deeper flavor, I love it.
And then a little salt, which everybody needs some salt. And that's also going to depend on the cheeses. If your cheeses are salty, you can back down the salt. I'm also using unsalted butter. And so keep in mind, if you're using salted butter, you might need to leave that salt out. But unsalted is pretty standard for recipes because the salt varies so much in butter. And then we've got mustard, dry mustard powder, which again, you don't have to put in, but I just really love it. It gives a little bit of a bite.
It does.
Okay. After we put all the spices in, then we're going to put 2 cups of bone broth. This is just chicken broth, and a cup and a half of cream. And we're going to let that simmer. The more you let it simmer down, it makes a really creamy base for our soup. So once we get that simmered down, and we'll show you guys, you're going to get to see kind of how far it should be simmered down. It's going to take about 15-20 minutes. We won't like make you stand and watch it the whole time. But anyway, you can see what it goes from one point to the other. Then we'll add the broccoli. Now when we chop broccoli up, we were doing, and these are different sizes, but kind of bite size. This is like the bigger end of the bite for me. But we also included some of the stems. So as you're chopping it up, you can chop some of that finely, and that'll go into the soup because we're going to actually take some out, puree it to make it thick, and then we'll have the other chunks in there because as we cook, it'll become more tender. And you don't want them too big. You want them bite size because it's a soup, and you don't want to have to use a knife for this soup. And we do talk about bite sizes so different for us or our husbands. And then the cheese. So this calls for 2.5 cups of cheese. 8 ounces gives you 2 cups. And so each of these were 8 ounces. Now we used my KitchenAid attachment, and it was like literally 5 minutes. You just cut the cheese up, put it in there, and you could do like a truckload of cheese. Do you have one of those?
I do, and I love to shred it in advance and put it in a gallon-sized bag and put it in the freezer. That way you're never without, and you can take advantage of the sales and just grab it and go.
Exactly, that's a great tip. And I just love that. If you don't have that shredder attachment, there are other ways you can shred it with a handheld or whatever. But I just love it. Something so satisfying when you put it in there. It's so fast. It's like, bring more cheese. You
want to do it all.
Call the neighbors so we can shred the cheese. Now for this, we're not going to use all this. This is a mild cheddar. This is a sharp yellow, and this is a sharp white. And so use what you love or what's on sale.
Yes.
But some of you are kind of sitting there going, I do not shred cheese. And that's okay, but I want to warn you, if you're buying the pre-shredded, it's going to have like starches and flours to keep it from sticking together, and that will affect the texture of your soup. And so sometimes people say, this is too thick. Well, it's going to be thicker because of that. So if you're going to use that, maybe don't simmer this down quite as long because you're putting that in. And do keep in mind that we're going to take it off the heat. We're going to put this in when this goes, 5 or 10 minutes, just tender. Take it off the heat, puree a little bit, put it back in there, and then put our cheeses in because we don't want it to break. And we've already decided that we're going to put a little bit of each cheese. So 8 ounces yields 2 cups. So we're going to have to figure the math out. I'm not smart enough to do all this. But so one of these whole things is 2, and then we need just a half cup from there. But I think we're just going to do like handfuls.
I think so. It doesn't have to be exact.
Exactly. For this recipe, it doesn't have to be precise at all. So let's go over to the stove and get cooking.
Let's go.
Okay, so let's start by browning the onions. And we're laughing because we've got our both husbands on camera and light duty, and this is a production. I think that, anything we do from here out is going to be easy.
Like, how many people does it take?
So, we're actually happy to make this cheddar broccoli soup too. So we're going to put the onion in, and then, the butter, and then put the onion in. And we're just putting, it's 1/2 of kind of a medium-sized onion. And I love onion. I would put all the onion, but all the onion has a lot of carbs. And so because we're also putting broccoli, we're going to try to minimize it. And we're just going to, we're going to go ahead and put the garlic in too. And this is just a clove of garlic. And I like to use the pre-minced garlic. It just makes it so much easier. And to be honest, I break garlic presses. Have you ever broken a garlic press?
No, I have never broken a garlic press.
I've broken 3. Yeah, so I'm terrible at that. So we're just gonna simmer down. And when we say brown the onions, don't skip this part because this is gonna give this great flavor. You don't have to let them go to caramelize them, but you definitely want to saute them until they're nice and brown.
And that might take a little while.
Look at the brown bits. This is going to be so yummy. I'm actually having fun here. I'm just kind of supervising and Crystal's cooking.
It's like getting cooking tips from the expert right here.
No, not an expert at all. She's a really great cook on her own. This smells great. It is just kind of fun watching.
Well, the funny thing is, Kristie herself has joked that I cook keto, Kristie, more often than she does.
She does. She makes it. I'll call her and say, hey, Crystal, that recipe, have you ever had this problem with it? Or what do you use? Because she knows. And she also feeds her family with it. Her kids are great about giving feedback. When they came in the door today, I'm like, hey, can you try this? Actually, I said, try this. I didn't think I said, can you? This is looking good. If you want to, we can go ahead and add some of the herbs and spices. I think actually you can move this out of your way. I'll leave that.
We're going to start with the really good stuff, the cayenne, and it is optional, but in my house we might actually add a little bit more because they love it spicy.
Your kids will eat that too?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
My kids would be like, Mom, it's hot. Well, Jonathan would.
We do it mostly for Kirk, but yeah, go ahead and give it a stir.
I'll give it a stir. That's okay. Sorry, I have to drive the boat a little bit. I'm sorry.
Teamwork. And that's the salt.
Because we used unsalted butter, so we're adding salt.
And the dry mustard.
And the dry mustard's my favorite. And so if you guys will notice what's happening, like this is sticking a little bit, like to the pan. So when Crystal puts in the bone broth, we're going to make sure we give it a stir and kind of get those bits off the side of the pan.
Let's see if you can hear this when it hits. That makes me happy.
We know it's doing the right thing. And that's just 2 cups of chicken broth. And I'll just confess that is a store broth. I didn't. Sorry to disappoint anybody. I really didn't have any thawed and ready for this morning, so it was poor planning on my part. But I do have some in the freezer. And then we're going to go ahead and add in the heavy cream, and we're going to let this start to simmer. So we're going to go and chat and do other things. We can set a timer. We're going to keep it on medium heat, and Crystal's adding 1.5 cups of heavy cream. But we can go do some other things. We can set a timer. We're going to let this go about 10 to 15 minutes. You want to stir it occasionally. You don't want it on super high heat, but kind of medium low. It depends on your cooktop, really, a lot, and it depends on the pot you're using. But this is just 1.5 cups, and we're letting it go. I have not tried dairy-free, so I haven't tried it with almond milk or cashew milk or any of those things. I've only used it with the heavy cream right now. So that's all we're going to do. Remember, we're going to let this simmer down. See if you can take a look kind of at where it is, the depth of it right now. And so then we come back and it simmer down. You'll get to see kind of how long you let it go. But we're going to let it go at least 10 to 15 minutes, probably closer to 15 to 20. So this is one of those nice, if you've ever got a snow day kind of thing, because you've got it in the kitchen, now you can do other things and just kind of let it simmer. So our soup has simmered down a little bit, and we got a nice little chat in, a little break, and I turned the heat down just a bit, but at this point all we need to do, you can see how thick it is, and Crystal was pointing out where it used to be on the side, to where
you can see just how much it's cooked down and thickened up.
Yeah, it's really going to be nice and savory, and her husband Kirk asked, why is it orange? The paprika and the cayenne. He's like, what kind of soup are y'all making? I don't think he wants to try it for us. But now we're just going to add the broccoli in. And this is 4 cups of broccoli. And again, we just cut them in pieces, and we have a little stem in there. And you want to let it get tender. And honestly, I like it to be, I like it mushy. Do you like mushy?
No, I don't like mushy.
I like it to have a little bit of texture, and you can see how thick it is. Like that's really, we let it simmer a long time. And if it gets too thick, if you've ever simmered it, all you have to do is just add a little more bone broth. So it's pretty easy to do. But that's going to go for a little bit longer. And once the broccoli gets tender, we're just going to let it go for maybe 5 minutes or so. And when it starts to get tender, and I'll turn the heat up a little bit. I turned it down. It'll simmer, it'll get tender, and then we're going to put some in the Ninja, and we get a little scoop, and then we'll puree it and put it back in. Now you don't have to do that step, and we talked about we could just skip that step too, but it makes it really nice and thick and creamy. So it's up to you. Do you want to do it or no? Should we skip it?
I think I like the feel of the creamy to do it.
So you want to try it?
I think I like to.
And that's one of the reasons why you put the stem in there too. So think about potato. It's not going to be as thick as potato, but that stem will help it to stay kind of nice and creamy. So let's let that simmer for just a few minutes. And one of the ways you'll know it's ready, because the sauce is already thickened, one of the ways you'll know it's ready is it goes from like that green to really bright green, and you can push it against the side and see how tender it is. Now remember, it's going to continue cooking, so it doesn't have to be. If it's getting soft, you've really probably taken it too far.
Yeah.
Unless you like it really soft. Now if it gets army green, it's really gone. Yeah, it's really gone too far if it gets to be kind of an army green. So you're really looking for a nice bright green. It starts to simmer. It's starting to simmer back just a little bit. It starts to simmer. Gets that really nice bright green. Give it a little stir, and then it'll be ready. Just like 5 minutes. We're gonna give it just a little bit. Again, it's starting to be that bright green, and it needs to be just kind of like a little past that really bright green. And remember, we're going to take this out, we're going to puree it, we put it back in, we'll take it off the heat, and then we'll put the cheese in. Because if you put the cheese in too hot, it'll seize. If you've ever tried to make a cheese sauce or a cheese soup, and you put the cheese in and it gets stringy and the oil, it separates, it's kind of gloopy, you don't want that.
No.
And so it's really easy. And we've also, the cheese has been sitting out at room temperature under the lights for a little bit, and that helps too. If you let the cheese kind of warm up to room temperature, it's much less likely to seize. So having it warm is helpful. I think
we're good. So do you want to ladle some?
Yeah, we're just going to ladle some in.
You tell me when.
And we're going to do just a little bit, and we'll put a little of the broth in there. And you have to be careful with these because the hot liquid, I tell you that looks perfect. And notice that Crystal left some chunks in there because you do want some texture. You want to have some bite. But this is just going to make it thicker, and it will make it green. So you have people in your life who are picky. Okay, and then, ready?
Mm-hmm. That is pretty.
It is pretty. It'll give it, like I said, a nice texture. And we didn't put a lot. She put maybe, I don't know, half cup or so of the actual broccoli. Because you can't get it too thick. Yeah, it's hot, so it's going to spit on you.
I did it slowly.
Yeah.
And over the towel.
Yeah. I would do it over the floor, I'm sure. Make a huge mess. Here you go, y'all.
Look at that difference in the color, too.
Exactly. That's great. And then we're just going to get that a stir. And we're really close to there. What do you think?
That's beautiful.
Look good. And remember, we'll thicken even more with the cheese. So should I turn it off the heat?
Yeah.
Okay, I should have turned it off before. And so we've got to make some decisions about the cheese. Do we want the mild? Do we want the sharp? Do we want the sharp white? What do you think?
I say we go with the 2 oranges so that it gives the color, but a little bit of each.
Okay.
So this is 2 cups.
Right,
Here,
that's 2 cups. And I think that's the mild. I'm not confident.
I
but
think it's the mild.
we can tell because for some reason the mild has a little bit bigger shred to it.
And then we need a half a cup.
Yep.
So we'll use a half cup of the other.
And I'm going to stir sometimes too.
Yes.
If you're stirring when it goes in, it incorporates more easily.
That's why it's fun to cook with a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to like put a little stir. It's melting. And like I said, it's off the heat, and that's it.
I do love having blended up some of it, just the extra pop of green in it It's beautiful.
It reminds you that's broccoli. Now, this is a side dish. This wouldn't be a main dish because remember, we've got onions and we've got broccoli. We do have some protein from the cream, and we do have carbs from the cream, and we do have some protein from the cheese, but really we want to make sure that we're getting, that this would be a side item, that you're going to get protein. And you can put some chicken in it. You could serve some grilled chicken with it.
Yes.
I think a burger would be really good
It
with
would
this.
be good.
Trying to think of a meat that wouldn't be good. I think ribs. I think this would be good for
Ribs would be delicious.
Yeah.
Saucy
So
with the creamy.
Look, I think it's almost. Should we dish some up and give it a try?
So.
And watch this. We got, so I'm gonna let Crystal dish it up and get out of the way. There's a little piece of cheese that didn't want to melt. Okay, and I can see the pieces of onion. I think when we chop those up, we have them big enough that you can actually see a little bit of them. Yum. And this will too, as it cools, it may get a little thicker. Yeah. I'm gonna take this and put a little cheese on top just to
I think
garnish.
you have some bacon somewhere
I
too,
have some
don't you?
bacon. Don't reach around you. We got David's bringing a spoon. Does he want to try it, or is he trying to help us? All right. So I put a little bit of bacon and a little cheese on there. Are you gonna do yours?
I've got some bacon on mine.
You're gonna put some bacon and more cheese. You don't have to. I'm
gonna go this way. Here we go.
And do you have another spoon?
Here's your spoon.
Okay. Like, is there another spoon? All right. I guess we should let the fellas try it. But
They worked so hard.
they have worked hard. They'll get to try it off camera. They're too tall to come into the frame with us.
You're absolutely right. I think we'd probably chop some heads off.
David would have to walk in on his knees.
I think both of them are over 6 foot, and here we are just barely 5.
That's exactly right. Okay. Be careful. I hope it's hot.
Wow.
This is like better than when I make it. She did a great job.
Wow. That flavor is so deep and rich.
I don't think it's too heavy.
It's not, but there's that undertone that you just keep wanting to go back for.
And we're going to keep eating. Thank you so much, Crystal, for joining me in the kitchen and for helping make cheddar broccoli soup. And I hope that if you make this with your family and friends, that you enjoy it too.